Hi YouTubers, it's Fortune Cookie 45 LLC coming to you from the Hot Lead Zone, and today's topic is primers and primer seating. So here is a Remington 9.5 size large rifle primer, and you see the primer has a cup and it has a pellet in there, the priming compound, and there's an anvil in there. Well, this primer needs to be seated all the way into the bottom of the primer pocket. Now when that's done, you'll get a little compression of the anvil against the pellet to sensitize the primer, and you'll also get the primer to be below the case head. And this gives us good ignition. Now most of our presses will seat primers, but the leverage in our presses is so great that you can't feel them bottom out. So a lot of reloaders, for rifle especially, like to use separate priming tools to put primers in, allowing us to feel the primer seat into the bottom of the primer pocket by feel. We can feel that. So we're going to discuss now separate priming tools for the seating of our primers. So all of our reloading companies make smaller tools with less leverage so that the primer can be felt seating into the primer pocket better. So some of these tools are held in the hand, and they use hand pressure to seat the primer. Others are bench mounted. This one happens to be a Lachmiller Primer Seater. Now Lachmiller was purchased by RCBS about 35 years ago. So you may not see these around except used, but the concept's the same. What we have here is a shell holder with a primer ram, and then a cam arrangement used to drive that ram to push the primer into the case. Now most of these require taking the primer by hand and placing it into the primer receptacle at the top. Then the case is put in, and then we can feel the primer going in and bottoming into the primer pocket, so that when we look at the net result, there you see a primer that's perfectly seated, and the primer is undamaged, unmarred, and it's all the way into the bottom of the primer pocket, and then it is below the level of the case head. Now this will ensure ignition, because when the firing pin hits this, the primer is already into the bottom of the primer pocket, so that the full force will drive the pellet into the anvil, and that compound will ignite consistently. So YouTubers, here's a close-up look of that quality Lachmiller tool for seating primers, and you see the lesser leverage to allow the feel. And it's very easy to change the shell holders with that little set screw there. And the big set screw is used to change the different primer seating stems. And you have different stems for small primers, large primers, round face primers, flat face primers. Of course, the flat face primer is the most popular today. So YouTubers, especially if you're rifle shooters looking for that sub-minute of angle accuracy, the separate priming tools, either handheld or bench mounted, might be what you're looking for. So look into that, and happy shooting to you, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.